Welcome back to Holistic Developer. I'm happy to see you back here. Today I want to share with you my success story. And yes, it is a success story, and that will include my outliers moment as well, because that's what defined my success. And the reason that I came up with this idea to share with you is that I just finished reading Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Is the story of success. It's an amazing book, national bestseller. And what Malcolm is describing in this book, that a lot of people have the idea that a person is successful because he has the drive, the grit, and a lot of people are successful because of who they are. And in a certain level, that's true, but it's not all the picture. Because a person, if it's in an environment that doesn't encourage them to grow, that it's making everything super challenging, he won't be able to be successful. And another person who gets everything handed to them and they apply the interest, their curiosity and hard work, they get to be successful. So it's not only about that person, it's the ecosystem. One thing that I really enjoyed in this book is one of the examples that Malcolm is bringing in is actually about Bill Gates. And you know that Bill Gates is one of the richest people in the world. Right now, his net worth is estimated to be $110 billion US. I'm wondering if you can tell me right now how many zeros are those. Put it in the comment below. So even Bill Gates is attributing his success to the fact that he went to a school that had the best computer in the world back then when he went to school. And that school is actually here in Seattle area. So because that high school that he went to had the best computer in the world, he started to program. He and one of his friends, they got excited and interested and curious about that computer, and he was spending hours and hours with that computer, and he started to program. Obviously, the more time he spent with the computer, playing with it, experimenting, the better he got. And you can see one thing led to another, and then he had Microsoft. Obviously, that's a long story packed in a few words, but yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons Bill Gates was successful and is successful to the moment. Now, I'll be sharing with you my success story, and I will try to the story, make it as concise as possible, because I just recorded another video and it was about an hour, and unless you want to hear those details, I'll probably make it concise, and if you want more details, feel free to ask for them. But if I were to go back to 2004, I was in a situation that I needed to drop out of school because the family situation was that we were no longer able to pay for my tuition, and we needed to drop out of school and get to work. I didn't want to do that, and one of the defining moment was that I knew somebody who was able to introduce me to someone that worked in a charity organization, and I was able to convince them to help me pay for my college, for 1 year of college, so I can get a start, find a job, and then I'll continue paying for myself. And the fact that I got that scholarship, it was kind of unprecedented in Eastern Europe, because even the scholarship, the organization that helped me, they were basically helping people with food and rice and all that stuff. They were not actually paying for somebody to study, but I was lucky to convince them to pay for my studies. So they paid for my first year. Then the second year I paid with the money that I made while I was working, and I believe the third year as well. Unfortunately, the last quarter of the third year I needed to drop out because my mom's health worsened and I was not able to go to college anymore. Fast forward to the moment when I met my husband. I was a college dropout. I didn't graduate. We were thinking, what do we want to do? Where do I want to be? And he really encouraged me to go back and finish my studies and get a degree. So obviously I needed to repeat the year because that's the way it is in Eastern Europe. You cannot just do the 3 months you have left in the year. You have to repeat the entire year. So that's what I did. I graduated and I got a diploma, and I was legally allowed to teach kids or be a psychologist. And I did that for probably a month or two, and then I realized that with the salary that I am getting, I was not able to sustain myself. Even though I loved to teach kids, I loved to be around kids, when it comes to life and you are not able to feed yourself, you realize that you need to change the strategy. So that time I was pondering different ideas. What do I do? And one idea that I had, it was that I will go and study to become an esthetician, because you can study for 10 months and then you become an esthetician, and it's really well paid off in Eastern Europe, and I believe around the world as well. However, my husband, my boyfriend back then, he told me, you told me so many times that you found interesting database administration, that because that was one of the classes that I had. I really liked that and I was good at it. He asked me, why don't you go into computer science? That's you're good at it, and also it's a field that pays well. And at the same time, I was like, yeah, I would love that. It's a perfect perfect thing because I really like it. But at the same time, I was terrified for multiple reasons. Number one, that I won't be able to finish off 3 years of university. How do I pay for that? How do I pay for the books? How do I pay for college? How do I pay for the university, right? How do I sustain myself? How do I study and continue to work? It was just a lot. And also, I didn't believe I can do it, because the path that I followed until then, it was something of arts, literature, right? It was to teach kids. And even though I was supposed to teach kids math, but that was kind of math, algebra 1, right? 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, something like that. It was not calculus that is needed in computer science, right? And I was super terrified to go. I was like, no, I will fail. I don't think I can do it. I didn't believe I'm able to do it for different reasons: financial, emotional, intelligence wise, and all that stuff, right? And my husband was really convincing that I'm able to do it, that he will help me financially if I need it, and he will support me in any shape or form that is needed. And he was really convincing, so I listened to him and I decided to go into computer science. And that was one of the toughest decisions I had to do in my life, and it was the scariest at that time. And I'm happy that I have him in my life, that he helped me go into that direction. That was the biggest outlier in my life, that he convinced me to go into that. And from the beginning, I was at the end of the class. I was failing practically at everything. It was super hard. The reason was that for 3 years that I was in college, I was doing music, dance, ballet, what else was I doing? I was doing literature, art, history of art. Yeah, I was doing databases, but databases, it was Access 101, which was super easy, right? So I was behind everybody else who for the last 3 years, they were doing math, advanced math, calculus, and all that stuff. And I realized that in order for me to get ahead, or at least be at an acceptable level and not fail, I need to do something. At that time, I decided to reach out to a tutor and get help. And that was something that you have to pay for, and I needed financial help, and that's where my husband supported me again, right? So I was working super hard every day with the tutor, hours and hours, until I got confident and I was able to be in level with the same level with everybody else. And at that time, I was able to drop the tutoring part, right? And it's interesting to look and in retrospect, for the 3 years that was at university. At the beginning of the year, I was the first half of the year, I was at the bottom on performance. I was probably one of the worst. And at the end of the three years study at university, I finished top three. I was the third for the entire year. I don't know how many students were, like 300 students or something like that. And it was not because I was the smartest or I had a talent or anything like that. It was because I put the effort and I worked really hard to demonstrate that I'm able to do that. I put everything in it, and a lot of times I wanted to give up. I'll be honest, but I didn't do that because of my husband, because he believed in me, he supported me, and he did everything I needed to be able to finish university and become a computer scientist. And that's one of the things that in Outliers it's discussed, is the fact that if you're willing to work hard and put a lot of effort in what you're doing, then you're able to succeed. And that's something that helped me. So when I graduated, the next outlier moment that happened in our lives, it was that my husband won a diversity visa. And that is a visa that got us into United States. Even though I graduated computer science in Eastern Europe, the career options there are not even close to the career options that are here in the United States, in Seattle area, where you have Microsoft, Google, Facebook. It's not even this big giant companies, but other companies in any industry, like the industry that I'm working in, manufacturing. There are a lot of opportunities here. So Seattle area for us was the best, and that's where we moved. So that was other outlier moment in my life. The next one, it also played a major role. It's when I got my first job as a software developer, and it became as a surprise to me because it was a long interview process. It was like a couple of times that I needed to come back, and I understood why, because they saw that I don't have the experience needed. I made a lot of mistakes during the interview, but anyway, somehow I got hired. And I actually told the person who decided to hire me, I told them, I was like, I was surprised that they hired me. It's like, if I were in your shoes, I would probably not hire myself. And he was kind of surprised to hear that. And he told me that he hired me not for my knowledge or my experience, but he hired me for my attitude and aptitude. That moment that defined everything moving forward also, right? First, it was my husband that he convinced me to pursue computer science. Then next one, it was the person who believed in me that I can do this, and he gave me a job. And that was the next defining thing. And what he did for me also, he assigned me to a team that, in my opinion, I believe it was the best team in the company, and I was able to learn a lot within 60 days from the moment I was hired. So I had 2 months when this VP of development, he told me that I was one of best hiring decision he have made in his career, and that was such a good feeling to hear. And yes, it was probably because I worked hard. I worked a lot of hours to try to get to the level where I was. But I believe it was the majority of it. It was because of the team I worked in. The team was amazing. It was the best. They helped me understand a lot of things. One thing that I learned at university, the theory, about the classes, the objects, the methods, and all of that stuff, parameters, arguments, everything, right? It's another thing to apply it into practice, into real world problems, and solving real world issues and bringing the real world solutions, interfacing to third-party companies, implementing an app and all that stuff, right? And the team that I was assigned to, it was the top. Actually, at that time, I was working with 3 people, and 2 of them helped me a lot. One of them currently is our director of software engineering. At that time, he was the team lead, and another person, he helped me also a lot. So I'm really grateful for the opportunities I had. So the person that I am today, where I am today, it's because of everything that happened before that. So if I were to look at what happened next year, within a year I was assigned to be a team lead, and that was kind of a mind-blowing thing for me, because the team that I was assigned to lead, it was a team built of engineers who worked there. If I averaged their years of experience, it was 15 years of experience. And I was a person who worked as a software developer for 1 year, and they worked for at least 15, 18, 17 years. And it was like, oh my God. And that was all because I had such a great support at work. The year that I spent, I learned so much from the best that the company could offer. I also had the support of my husband, who was encouraged me every time I was feeling that I'm failing, every time that I was feeling that I'm not good enough. He was helping me. So all of this, all the ecosystem helped me get to the part that was such a fulfilling milestone for me to be assigned a team lead. Then I had another opportunity. I led a project which was an amazing opportunity for me, amazing experience. I got to do everything related to that project. I managed everything from A to Z. I would say that I was the mini CEO of that project, of that development effort, training, getting the requirements, everything in between. I didn't mention them in the crack water, but that's kind of besides the point. So I believe that was another thing that helped me grow even further. Then I was given the opportunity to be a project manager, then technical project manager. Right now I'm working on something that I was pursuing for a long time, and I'm building a new module, and I'm designing everything, which is really, really fulfilling. Also this year I was offered to be a manager, and I turned it down for different reasons. And if I were to look back for this 8 years of experience that I have, where I started, where I am, and everything that I was able to accomplish, it was not just me. It was due to the fact that I had a person who believed in me and gave me the opportunity. He hired me. I had an amazing team that I worked with, and I learned a lot from them. I had a lot of support at work and at home, and I grew up a lot because of that ecosystem, because of that environment. And if I were to look where I am right now and where I was 15 years ago, it's the sky and the ground. I don't know, I cannot express the life-changing events, the shape that my life took. It was, if none of this, like 4 major events would have happened in my life, I don't know where I would have been right now. And I don't want to, maybe I would have been happy anyways, doing something else, I don't know. But I'm happy that I'm a software developer. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm working with amazing people. I'm in an amazing country. Yeah, it's just a lot of things that happen, and all of this is due to the fact, the environment, and everything in between. So hopefully you find this motivational, and you find this something that will help you move forward and understand that if you work and if you are willing to get there every day, not be afraid to fail, and pursue your dream, you will be able to realize and gain a lot of experience and knowledge and set yourself for success. So I really encourage you to read this book, Outliers. If you can get to a physical book, maybe you can buy it. If you have it from Amazon, I'll have a link below. Or you can go to a library if you have, you can get it. Also, you can go with the option of audiobooks. Actually, even though I have the physical book, I read it. I also went with an audio book option. I waited for 4 months for it to be available. Actually went with the library, they have the audiobooks options there as well. So you can tell that a lot of people want to read and listen to this book because it's such a good book. Hopefully you found this useful and motivational. I'm looking forward to talk to you in the next video, and I'm wishing you happy engineering, and until next time.